Yes. Yeah. Hello, everyone. I hope I am audible. If not, then please let me know. Well, I can't see anyone in the studio. Well, nobody has, I mean, joined. But see, today I have been, there was an invitation from my, what should I say, elder brother, mentor, whoever, to participate in this discussion about uh, free speech in Indian perspective. Well, there is a lot to say about this. To start with, I would say my question to the audience would be, when did Indians start talking freely? Have the Indians started talking freely? That's again a question. I mean, you need to question yourself from the time you gained conscious. I mean, have you been able to talk free? If not, then you should question why. And if you have been able to talk free, then you should be glad about it. Right? I think still today, I don't think all Indians, or maybe 95%, 98% Indians, can talk freely, right? There are many reasons to it. I'll come to that one by one. I'll come to that one by one. Uh, our, I mean, the father of the nation, did he talk freely? Or did he talk under the influence of uh, colonial rulers? That's a big question. Well, I think he mostly talked under the influence of colonial rulers. They needed someone like him to be the face of the freedom fight of Indians. Right? So the very definition, or the very beginning of free talk, I mean, is a question. Right? Someone who was in South Africa and was attending meetings. See, this is not a platform to share links, right? This is exactly not a platform to share links. This is exactly not a platform to, you know, share references. But yes, I have plenty. A gentleman, he was present in South Africa and was attending shows and seminars where he was he was singing and uttering the British song, right, national song. I don't think that person who became, or who was portrayed and who was projected, and then he became actually uh, Garcias, the leader of the freedom fight of India, right, or the face of the freedom fight of India. Uh, so he was not a free speaker, right? That cannot be free speech. That is to start with. Now there are many things to things to say. When you are allowed to speak free, you generally speak the truth, right? But when you speak the truth, it flares up people. Very recently, you guys must be aware of the incident about Nupur Sharma, right? There was a talk show in television, and there were people from political identities, from different religious beliefs, and which invoked a situation wherein uh, um, some religious follower of a particular religion, in a particular context, was talking irrationally about Nupur Sharma's religious uh, beliefs in terms of in terms of the religious figures. Well, Nupur Sharma did not, had to respond to it at one point of time when it reached a stage. Nupur Sharma had to respond to it. So, in response, Nupur Sharma uh, retaliated, and she spoke about the so-called holy prophet of that one and only so-called true religion in the whole world. Whatever Nupur Sharma spoke, it's not written or it's not depicted by scholars, historians of any other religion. Whatever she spoke is been quoted out of the out of the texts which are available mm, in the religious books and scripts of of this particular one and only one true religion. When she retaliated in response to the insult to her beliefs, the world flared out. A combination or a cluster of countries flared up, who wherein majority or the most of the people are the believers of this religion, right? But if you consider neutrally, what Nupur Sharma said was, she was absolutely free to say that because she gathered all those what she spoke about from the text and and depictions of that particular religion. She did not cook it herself, right? So that's where in the definition of or the very concept of free speech in Indian perspective gets defeated, right? So now Nupur Sharma did not have a one-on-one conversation on what she said. It was just in response to what she heard about her own religious beliefs, about her about her religious beliefs concerning the religious figures. So when this happens, the concept of free speech is in question in a particular geography, right? Which is what happened, and I strongly believe that. Uh, there are many instances like this, right? People supporting Dubu Sharma in India, some of them were beheaded, videographed, published, right? But well, India is a renowned democratic sovereign republic in the world. You can all say that it cannot happen, right? Beheading a person in the present context. or the present scenario where the world is right now. Uh, how how would you guys look into it? I mean, is it pre-medieval? Is it ancient? Is it barbarian? Or is it contextual? I would find it's basically barbarian. Right? Now, in context of free speech, if I say that beheading is allowed in a particular religious belief, to people who are not abiding by those religious beliefs, who are speaking against those religious beliefs, is actually, I'm free to say that, right? Because history depicts so, scripts depict so, right? I mean, it's been allowed. It's been allowed since last 1400 years, and it's been practiced in certain parts of the world. It's been very commonly practiced. If you talk about that in Indian perspective, then you will be said that you are either RSS, you are Hindutvadi, and you would be stamped, right? Just talking freely in India means that I have to be subtle about facts which are happening around me, about history which is depicted, which has been recorded, and still balance and say that yeah, we are secular people. We would. I mean, I would rather not say anything about it. So that is not free speech according to me. But in Indian perspective, that would actually be called, free speech. Mr. Nasruddin Shah, a famous actor in India, right, winning so many awards, having acted in so many award-winning films. Today, after being famous and after being known in such a broad perspective, he feels unsafe. He feels India is not a very, safe place for people who are of his religion, right? Of his religion, living in India. That means he believes in his own religion, right? And he has got a particular religious belief. That's why he believes so. Fair enough. He has every right to believe in his own religious beliefs. But let's not forget that India, I mean, if I consider the demographics, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, all were one single country, right? So I'm not getting into the politics of the whole thing. It's got divided. It's got divided a couple of times. So all these people, the Mukhopadhyays, Bongopadhyays, Sharkars, Jains, you know, Agarwals, Modis, and and Shahs, Wakars, Quadris were living together, right, in the particular land. So, I mean, suddenly, all once India got divided, why does Mr. Shah, Sir Shah, feels that it is not safe for people of his religious belief to be in India? And my second question is, being a democratic India, what is a second class citizen? I mean, in a democratic country, there is no second class citizen, right? You cannot determine class of a citizen according to the number of people. You can't do that. In a democracy, everyone is equal. But these people feel that. But when people supporting what Nupu Sharma said gets beheaded, he will never find a single word being uttered by all these people who suddenly feel they are very unsafe in India because of their religious identity by their names, right? By their names. So you are living in a country, in a geography, and you want to uphold your religious identity by the very signature of your name. Not accepted. That's not something which we should preach as free speech in Indian perspective. Speech does not mean talking. Speech has a different perspective altogether, a complete perspective altogether. So, I mean, it's very surprising, and it's kind of it's kind of annoying also. We are a democratic country. We have several states in our country, and people of every state have the same right. So why does one particular state has to enjoy special privileges? I mean, we are all Indians. I basically hail from West Bengal. For my profession, I am right now in Karnataka, but I'm an Indian at the end of the day, right? I'm as Indian as I'm Kashmiri. So, when this Article 370 is waived off, why does people flare off? Why does people flare off? And why does people have the freedom of speech to talk against it? And why does people, I mean, why do people who who talk in favor of it that it should be actually waived off are not recognized? I mean, me from West Bengal, people from Kashmir, we are all part of India, right? So we should have the same rights. I cannot be granted some special privileges, right? Similarly, Kashmiris cannot be granted the special privileges. So I think a removal of 370 and in context of free speech in Indian perspective, it should be spoken about. I mean, we should speak in favor of it because it is doing ultimately justice. Every people of every state in India are equal, right? So we should all have equal rights. All have equal rights. On the other hand, contrary on the other hand, I mean, recently in Indore, in Madhya Pradesh, there are those ignorant bunch of saffron fools who keeps on uttering that ये तेरा बाप है, ये तेरा बाप है. I mean, it makes no sense. जो जिसका बाप है. I mean, we haven't seen those people, right? So how do we determine all this? And and you know why keep on uttering such things? Why keep on uttering such things? Why should it be? Why should it be allowed? Why should it be allowed? People who are uttering such things in the first instance should be put behind the bars, right? Secondly, comes the people who protest against them, right? And they say that we'll set the city to sacrifice. We'll set the city to fire. What the fuck, man? You're a part of India, and you will set a city of India to fire, right? That also should be persecuted. All these. I mean, I mean, it should be stopped. It should be stopped. Someone who's a proven terrorist who has been instrumental in invoking Terrorism in India, Afzal Guru, right? He was tried and he was accused, right? Before that, it was proven. Now, very progressive institute, very progressive institute, elites take birth out of that institute in India. So, in that particular institute, a function goes on wherein there are slogans कि अफसोस अफजल तेरी कातिल जिंदा hai. I would rather appreciate the qatils who executed Afzal, right? Do you consider that to be free speech? Someone who's actually conspiring against my nation, someone who's detrimental to my nation, and he has been caught, his guilts have been proven, and then he has been executed, and people are chanting in favor of that person and and demeaning the execution of him. Do you think that's free speech? Do you think that from JNU we would we would consider people chanting Bharat tere tukre tukre honge as a free speech, right? I mean, history, a lot of people will not agree to it, and a lot of people, even knowing the truth, will not agree to it. Geographies who have disintegrated from this united India is now suffering. We are seeing what is happening in Pakistan. We know Bangladesh very well, right? We know Bangladesh very well. They were East Pakistan, right? Huh? And suddenly in 1947, they were East Pakistan. 1971, they suddenly became Bangladesh, right? What went wrong? Who were the people, mostly in numbers, who went down in the streets of United India saying, "Haath mein vidi, muh mein paan, ladke lenge Pakistan," where the Hindi speaking, Punjabi speaking Muslims in majority and the Bengali speaking. So you join hands with all of them and they form Pakistan, being part of East Pakistan. And suddenly in 1971, when you get the brunt of it, right? Those people who you join hands with during 1947, they become Hanadars in your country, right? Fucking bullshit, man, right? So the concept of free speech in Indian perspective is concept of free speech in Indian subcontinent perspective. All this will come. All this will come. So Bharat tere tukre tukre honge. And Bharat, once Bharat gets divided, we see what is the consequence, right? And firstly, as an Indian, uh, I'm an Indian on an Indian soil. Will I consider this slogan as a peace speech? Is this the concept of a free speech? भारत तेरे टुकड़े टुकड़े होंगे इंशाल्लाह भारत तेरे टुकड़े टुकड़े होंगे. I mean, there cannot be double standards, right? There has to be one standard. You are practicing your religion. Fine, fair enough, right? Keep it inside your home. Why do you bring it out in public? Why does it have to be a part of your speech? When religion becomes a part of your speech is never, never, never free, right? It is indebted with the thoughts of your practicing religion. You're practicing religion, keep it inside your four walls, right? Don't bring it out. Don't bring it out. Don't make it a part of your speech. Don't make it a part of your speech, right? That is my perspective. And if you are practicing free speech,
then speak the truth from all angles. What Nupur Sharma said in retaliation of her of the insult which she felt what was being spoken about her own religious belief about the religious figures is absolutely right because that is what is depicted in the scriptures of that particular practicing religion. She did not write them on her own, right? She took it from where they are written. She just replicated them. She just uttered what she read. So, so that is free speech, right? That is free speech. When Priya Shah complains to Donald Trump that people in Bangladesh of a particular religious belief who are supposed to be called a minority in Bangladesh according to their numbers. Firstly, I believe that there should not be any concept of minority according to numbers. Whatever. She spoke the truth. That's free speech because that is the truth. There is an official who's published a document in Bangladesh which goes in record that some 600 odd people of a particular religious belief in Bangladesh, Hindus, who are called minorities, every day in the dark escapes from Bangladesh. When you speak about it in public, that is free. You are talking freely, right? You don't balance and talk freely. If you're in a process of balancing, you cannot talk freely, right? Then you're not talking freely. You forget about the balance. There will be imbalance. When you talk freely, there will be imbalance. That proves that you're talking freely. I mean, the pseudo peace around you is not going to suffice your free speech. You forget about the pseudo peace around you. There's a lot of warmth, or there is a lot of turmoil beneath that pseudo peace. And the day it surfaces out, you'll suddenly figure out it will become very difficult for you to handle that. Right? So So, this concept of free speech in Indian perspectives is very, 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 you know, kind of confused. What is free speech? If I am free to speak, I will speak the truth. What's happening around me? I mean, everybody's got a particular food habit, right? Somebody can be lynched because he's eating a particular animal. That's his or her choice. He's or she is most free to eat that animal, right? Provided the sanctity behind butchering that animal is kept, right? I'm a vivacious, what should I say, carnivorous animal, I should call myself. I eat everything, right? I mean, you are free to eat anything. Your food habit cannot be linked to your religious belief. But if you say that in Uttar Pradesh, if I say this in Uttar Pradesh in India, there will be a huge turmoil. Huge turmoil. आप ऐसे कैसे बोल सकते हैं? Yeah, I can say that. Whatever I eat is not linked to my religious belief if I at all have one. Firstly, it is my choice. It is my choice. Secondly, whatever I'm eating, specifically livestock, it cannot be butchered in public, right? And the spoils of that cannot be thrown around, right? If you're doing that, then that's a mistake. That's a mistake. And I'm allowed to talk about it. I'm allowed to talk freely about it. I would say that. You're having beef, man. Go have it. That's your choice. But if you're slaughtering the cow in public, I have a problem, right? I seriously have a problem. I will not tolerate that fucking bullshit in public. There should be slaughterhouses, and you should strictly slaughter all animals, all kinds of livestock out there. right? You have to have namaz on the roads. Why? Namaz is a separate thing, right? And a road is for pedestrians, cars, and all. Do you want to have namaz on the roads, which is like, I mean, stamped with so many uh, footsteps, right? So many car tire residuals, right? You want to have namaz there. What do you want to prove? What do you want to prove? There is a place for namaz, right? A mosque is there. In every state of India, there are several mosques. Why do you want to have namaz on the road? Block the road and to have a namaz. What the fuck do you want to prove, man? Do you see people on the road on every Thursday or every Saturday for Hindus praying on the road itself and blocking the road, right? Durga Puja is one of the biggest festivals, right? In order to have a pandal in Calcutta, they will have to take the principal, they'll have to take the clearance of Calcutta Municipal Authority, right? Right. And there are only certain places which are allowed, right? I mean, suddenly you block some road and you have namaz out there on every Friday. What the fuck, man? What do you want to prove? God can be preached, or you have a place built for that. Go there and do it, man. Do it in a clean, neat place, not a place which has 1,000 footsteps on it, right? What do you want to prove? You want to prove your might, is it? So all these I'm speaking is actually against the concept of free speech in India. People will tell me that, oh man, this guy is kind of racial, this guy is kind of, RSS type. I care a fuck. I literally care a fuck. But this is the truth. This is actually the truth. And truth should be spoken from true perspective. I don't care who is satisfied and who is not, right? I literally don't care. I literally don't care. I have seen instances in my own personal life. Free speech in India, Indian perspective. I will take a bright example. Okay. Now, my wife is from a different religious belief. I'm from a different country, right? Neighboring country. I was not a visa expert at least about 3 years back. I was not a visa expert. I did know little about it. But later on, circumstances changed me uh, to become a visa expert. So I could know that if someone is holding a tourist visa, multiple entry tourist visa, can have actually a X1 visa if she is married to an Indian citizen. Forget about all that. I will not get into personal details. I'm talking about an instance wherein there there is a particular flight which lands up in Calcutta. I was that point of time in Calcutta in the late afternoon, and my wife was at that time on a tourist visa, right? And she was flying down, and she went for a visit to her parents in the neighboring country, and she was coming down to Kolkata in India. In the board, I could see the flight has landed at certain time, and I was half an hour before that because I thought that I will have grab some food in the airport, and I'll take her or together, and we'll go back to home. 45 minutes passed, 1 hour passed. I could still figure out the people walking out of the airport, and one by one, and one by one. And 1 hour passed by. She was still not yet. I mean, she still not yet came. And I'm frantically looking for her. That she'll come out of grade 4A, 4B, or 3A, 3B, which is the international exit. Now, and I was calling her up, calling her up. and she was not picking up the phone. In fact, she was disconnecting my phone. So I was like, it was a horrible experience. I was like, uh, I mean, very restless in the airport, very restless. Finally, when she came out, it was about 1 hour 15 minutes, and she was in all tears, all tears. Her laptop was in her hand. The bag was wide open, right? And she was crying. And she didn't say a single word to me. She just only asked me, "Where is your car?" I said, "There's my car." And when in the car, she burst out. She said, "Why is this to me happening?" And I asked her what happened actually. What she told me at a later, much later stage. I mean, initially she never disclosed it, much later stage. I mean, it was shocking. Two immigration officers, one with white chandan tikas on the forehead, and one was a tall fellow, black, slightly dark. Everybody was allowed, and they seized her passport and they called her to a different room, secluded room. They asked her that your name is this. Oh, yeah. You married this person, Rajarshi Hour. He's a Brahmin, a Hindu. How come? Then she showed all her documents. No, we understand. We'll keep your documents aside. But how does this happen? And then they start. Then they started, you know, juggling her. I mean, you should be ashamed of doing this. That tall, black, dark fellow said. The Tika fellow started maligning her indirectly, and this kept on going till the time they said that we want to see whether you are a terrorist or not. Show your bag. And she only had jewelries, that too, artificial jewelries inside her bag. Out of frustration, she took out everything and kept on the desk and said that, "Take it, man. Leave me now." Right? So this is how she was harassed in the airport. Right? The second time, it again happened after 3 months. But that time I had the courtesy of another person who was generous and who said that, "Mr. Banerjee, your wife is eligible to get an X1 visa. Despite the fact that she has got a tourist visa, she can still get an X1 visa because she has married you." So that's how I learned the TIC certificate. So now this is the context of free speech in Indian perspective, right? Another side of the story. 2020, Corona breaks out. She went for a visit to her neighboring country, and after 5 days, my youngest sister-in-law calls me up, says that, "Bhaiya, all flights have been cancelled. There are no flights. Borders have been sealed. So she has to stay back. She cannot go." I was shocked. I was in office. I checked what the news is, Google News, and I could figure out what she was saying was right. So from the month of uh, late February 2020 till September, I was alone, locked up in India, and she was locked up in the neighboring country. When the borders eventually opened up, flights didn't open up, right? So she had to come to India, and she got a visa on a special case basis. Since she was married to an Indian citizen, and only land port was open, so I had to fly down to Calcutta. I was not that point of time based out of somewhere else in India, so I had to fly down to Calcutta. Stayed in a hotel near the Calcutta airport for one night. She came to the border. She stayed in a particular hotel near the border state. Next morning, I drive down to the border. She comes to the border, and I'm waiting there for ages. Like she's not coming out. And I'm calling her on emo. Most of the time she's disconnecting from the line, and few of the times she picked up my call and saying that they are not allowed me to cross it. I said, you have a valid visa given to you by Indian embassy. But still they are not allowing. When it crossed 1.5 hours, I felt that something needs to be done. So I took the permission of the guards and went down to the Indian visa side and went and met the highest official. And he asked me, what is the issue? So I had all the documents scanned in my mobile. I showed him, this is the particular visa she's got. This is the issue. And she has not been allowed. She's there in the border. She has been stopped crossing over in spite of Indian embassy granting her a valid visa. Reason being that it's an inter-religion marriage, inter-country and inter-religion marriage. And the guy said, he was a fairly young guy. He said that, Mr. Banerjee, I don't know how I can help you. You please wait outside. Let me see what best I can do. Because she is on the other side of the, she's not in India. She's on the other side of the country. But once I spoke to him, after 10 minutes, I could see her coming up. And again, she was in tears. I said, what happened? What I heard now, uh, topic is free speech in Indian perspective. I'm talking about the entire Indian subcontinent. In fact, she was actually held by a guy who was kind of, you know, Maulavi type. And the guy said that we don't consider this to be a marriage. It is not a marriage. I will not allow you to be coming out of a particular religious family, just getting to India just like that, right? And the heckling went on there on that side of the Indian border for more than 1 hour. But the other counter guy, there was an aged man. There was an aged man who came and spoke to my wife saying that if he doesn't allow you, last to last moment, I will allow you. Don't worry. Now, why I bring this is where we are standing. This is where we are standing, and we are still talking about free speech. Do we actually have a free speech in Indian subcontinent? In Indian perspective, do we actually speak free? Don't we think twice about what we talk about? Don't we have a conscious or an unconscious effort to balance our speeches? Right? I mean, eh, if you have to talk about truth. I mean, if you want to talk freely, you have to talk about truth, right? Babri Masjid, Ram Mandir or God, I don't know. I'm not an archaeologist, but the engravings show that Babri Masjid was actually built upon a temple. Whatever temple, I care hooks, man, right? And there are so many masjids in India still erected who are basically being created by destroying temples, right? No one can deny that. But when you go and talk about freely or openly, people will look at you. Oh, here comes the Hindutva. So you become a Hindutva. You cannot talk about that. Our father of the nation, marked the 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 Kerala mass genocide, right? As movement of the farmers, right? There was a mass genocide in the 40s. I don't want to mention the name of that place, Kerala, right? But our so-called father of the nation said that it is a movement of the farmers. Right? Actually, it was not. It was the mass genocide of a particular of a sector of people belonging to a particular religious being by by mm, another another sector of people who belongs to a different religious belief. But if you talk about that, you you will be again termed as somebody, right? BBC made this documentary, Modi perspective of Gujarat, right? On just on the verge. I mean, there's obviously I can figure out, I can sense that there is a tinge of vested interest behind that. 2024 is the election, so it's high time to tarnish the image of the ruling party, right? But anyway, I mean, I'm not getting into politics, but the point is, if you really talk about freedom of speech, why doesn't BBC publish one single video or of Jallianwala Bagh? Let's talk about Jallianwala Bagh, right? And let's talk about Godhra. So to every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. You have to accept that, right? That's science, even in society. So if there is Godhra, I mean, I don't know who's the perpetrator or what happened. I mean, I really do know inside out. But the point is, if I that's a different topic altogether, right? But why did it happen? If you go and talk, if I go and talk about this, and if you utter this same single thing in public, and people will say, "Oh, you are, pro Modi, Hindutva." Some people are coming from a, prayer gathering. What business do you have to burn them alive? And when you burn them alive, you think people are going to remain silent about it, right? You expect them to be, tolerant about all this. You still expect them to be tolerant. If you're not tolerant, then you are Hindutva, right? You burn a bunch of people and you still, and I can still remember the time, right? I was not that well read at that age. But when that first page of Ananda Bajar Patrika I saw, and I saw the picture, it just mm, it just flared me up, burning so many people. It flared me up. I was myself furious. I'm confessing the truth. I was myself furious. So imagine a huge number of people not getting flared up. So there will be repercussions, right? There will be repercussions. But when you talk about it, you are not a free speaker. You are a biased speaker, right? I don't care, but that's the truth. That's the truth. You like it, fine. You don't like it, I can't help it, right? I can't help it. But the fact remains as they are, as they are, right? Why is it so necessary to wear hijab in the schools? Why is it so necessary? And specifically on a particular state of India, why is it so necessary to wear hijab? Hijab by choice. So hijab by choice, fair enough. I mean, if you have to wear hijab by choice, go to the madrasas. Go to the madrasas, right? You can't make it a compulsion, right? In a school. And if somebody is not allowed to wear it, right, that may be the school's decorum. That may be the school's decorum. Depends from schools to school. Wearing it or not wearing it, what difference does it make in acquiring knowledge in an education institute? How do we make a difference? Why is it so necessary? You talk in terms of the wiping out of that Teen Talak rule from Indian Constitution, you will be turned, oh man, pro Modi, RSS. But do you think you can really divorce a woman, your life partner, by saying Teen Talak? What happens to those women, those who divorce? So speaking in favor of abolishing that particular rule is my freedom of speech. I would talk about it, no matter whoever terms me what. I don't care. I literally don't care about it. If you have to talk freely, you have to talk from all aspects. From all aspects. Right? I myself, uh, from in my personal life, I personally sent my objection emails to airlines authority about the hacking which happened in Indian part, and I went down to see the Indian officials in the border to resolve or to protest against what was happening on the other part of the border. You need to gather that extra amount of uh, courage to actually talk freely. It's important because if we don't talk freely right now, I mean, we'll hardly be left any time. We'll hardly be left any time. It makes no sense. And in order to keep a social balance, I mean, what is social balance? What is social balance? How do you define social balance? There's actually so from the Indian perspective, it is high time that we Indians should talk what the truth is all about. The history books that our kids read, that we have read, and are full of malefic, I would say malefic history. Where are those Prithviraj Chauhans? Why these Aurangzeb Shahjahans have been glorified, right? Where is Shashank? The history belongs when you the book's name I still remember, Glimpses of Indian History, class six onwards, part one, part two, part three, part four. I remember, right? So if you're saying glimpses of Indian history, where are the Indian heroes? Why do you glorify the outside invaders? We don't have to, right? And if you talk about that, that's freedom of speech. You should talk about it, in fact, right? You should talk about it. And I believe in this freedom of speech. I don't believe in the balancing freedom of speech. I don't want to get into that, right? Somebody in India, sitting in India, does not have the right to talk about Bharat tere tukre tuk diye. No, he's not talking free. He's talking against my country. And I have the freedom to protest against it. That's my freedom of speech, right? That's my freedom of speech. I believe in that. So, firstly, I mean, we need to decide that that are we actually talking freely? If we are talking freely, or if you want to talk freely, two things are to be eliminated from mind. One is the idea of balancing, and secondly is the idea of, is the apprehension at is that what people are going to think about me. In my case, I'm actually not concerned about any of this. I mean, people can think whatever they feel about it. I literally don't care. And I don't need to balance things. I really don't need to balance things, right? I will say what I see around me. I will say what is happening, what is the fact, right? I will, I will, I will freely say what I'm experiencing day in, day out, right? So that's, according to me, that is freedom of speech. That is freedom of speech, right? I believe what Nupu Sharma said is freedom of speech. She said what she read from the scripts of that particular religion. That is freedom of speech, right? And my free speech, I will say, people who behead others in the name of anything in current society should be shot at gunpoint on a 4th Street corner, right? That is my freedom of speech. By freedom of speech, the message is very clear. Don't give shit, don't take shit, right? Point blank clear. Let's not give shit, let's not take shit. We will state the facts as they lie, as they are. Someone likes them, fine. Someone likes doesn't like them, we don't care. That's my way, or that's my conception of freedom of speech in Indian perspective. With this, I would like to end my discussion. I mean, you guys are free to comment, judge me, whatever. I only express what I basically feel true in my heart. Thank you, and thank you for watching.